Before kings ruled the earth, before civilizations carved their names into stone, something else was already watching us. Not gods, not humans. Observers sent to guide humanity, who instead changed history forever. Welcome to Hidden Origins, a place where ancient history, forbidden knowledge, and forgotten truths rise from the shadows. What you're about to hear was never meant to be remembered, but once you know it, you can't unsee it. Long before written history, ancient tradition spoke of beings who stood between heaven and earth. They were not rulers, and they were not creators. They were watchers, silent overseers assigned to observe the earliest generations of mankind. Their story survives in fragments, but the most detailed account comes from an ancient text known as the Book of Enoch. It is a book surrounded by controversy, removed from most religious canons, not because it lacked importance, but because of what it revealed. According to this text, humanity was never truly alone. In its earliest days, the human race was fragile. Survival depended on the land, the weather, and instincts barely formed. Communities were small, knowledge was limited, the world was raw and unfinished. It was during this vulnerable era that the Watchers were assigned their role. They were a select group of celestial beings, chosen not for power alone, but for discipline. Their task was simple in description, but immense in responsibility. Observe humanity, protect its development, and ensure it grew in alignment with divine order. They were never meant to rule. They were never meant to interfere. They were meant to watch. From their vantage point, the Watchers watched everything: birth and death, loyalty and betrayal, hope and fear. Humanity was imperfect, but it possessed something unusual, a spark, a capacity to grow beyond instinct. That spark fascinated them, and fascination slowly became temptation. The Watchers were bound by laws older than humanity itself. One law above all others: they were forbidden from crossing the boundary between the divine and the mortal. No unions, no interference, no sharing of sacred knowledge. But curiosity has always been the seed of rebellion. Among the Watchers was one who would later be remembered as Semyaza. He did not begin as a villain. He began with doubt. Doubt about his role, doubt about the limits placed upon him, and doubt about why beings so full of potential were denied knowledge. Semyaza knew the risk. Disobedience meant judgment. There would be no return. So he made a decision that ensured there would be no turning back. He gathered other Watchers and proposed an oath. If they were to defy heaven, they would do so together. No one would stand alone when judgment came. 200 Watchers agreed. 200 celestial beings abandoned their posts. This was not an accident. It was a coordinated rebellion. They descended to earth, and with that descent, the order of creation was disturbed. If this story feels uncomfortable, pause here and consider subscribing. What follows is rarely told without distortion, and the consequences of this decision reach far beyond myth. The Watchers did not arrive empty-handed. They brought knowledge, not wisdom earned through generations, but advanced understanding humanity was never meant to receive so early. Knowledge that could build civilizations or destroy them. They believed they were helping. They believed humanity was ready. They were wrong. Because knowledge does not ask whether its bearer is wise. It only demands to be used. And once it was given, it could never be taken back. The Watchers had crossed the line.
and what followed would change the world. What the Watchers shared with humanity did more than accelerate progress. It unleashed chaos and created something that should never have existed.
When the Watchers chose to interfere, they did not arrive as conquerors. They arrived as teachers. Each Watcher carried knowledge tied to a specific domain, skills that humanity would have eventually discovered on its own, but not for thousands of years. By giving this knowledge early, the Watchers compressed human development into a dangerous acceleration. Progress surged. Wisdom did not. One Watcher, remembered as Azazel, played a central role in this transformation. He taught humans how to shape metal, how to extract iron from stone and bronze from earth. For the first time, humanity could forge tools stronger than bone or wood. At first, this knowledge seemed like a gift. Agriculture improved, tools became more precise, survival became easier. Then, weapons appeared. Blades replaced clubs, spears replaced hands. Power no longer belonged to the strongest, it belonged to the one holding forged metal. Conflicts that once ended in retreat now ended in bloodshed. Territory mattered, dominance mattered. War became organized. Azazel also introduced adornment, ornaments, cosmetics, symbols of status. Beauty became currency. Desire became leverage. What once united communities now divided them through envy and comparison. Power was no longer only physical, it was psychological. If this story is pulling you in, take a moment to subscribe. The next revelations explain why this knowledge was considered forbidden, not evil, but premature. Another Watcher, known in ancient tradition as Kokabel, turned humanity's eyes upward. He taught the movements of the stars, the patterns of the heavens, the cycles of planets, and the structure of the night sky. To early humans, this was transformative. The stars were no longer mysteries, they became maps, calendars, predictive tools. Seasons could be tracked, journeys could be planned, crops could be timed with precision. But soon, observation turned to obsession. Humans began believing the stars could control fate rather than reflect it. Leaders sought power through prediction. Decisions were made not through wisdom, but through interpretation of the sky. The heavens, once a source of wonder, became a tool for control. Another Watcher revealed knowledge even more dangerous. He taught enchantments, spoken formulas meant to influence outcomes. Humanity learned rituals meant to protect, curse, or manipulate. What began as symbolic practice turned into belief in dominance over unseen forces. Fear spread alongside fascination. At first, these teachings appeared to benefit humanity. Cities formed, societies organized, knowledge flourished. Civilization rose faster than it ever had before. But beneath that progress, something darker was taking shape. Weapons created war, adornment fueled vanity, astrology fed obsession, enchantments spread fear. Humanity advanced technologically, but morally it fractured. The Watchers had underestimated something fundamental. Knowledge amplifies what already exists, and humanity, still young and unbalanced, was not prepared. The consequences reached their peak with the birth of something unnatural. The Watchers did not only teach humanity, they crossed another forbidden boundary. From their unions with human women came beings neither fully divine nor fully human. Ancient texts describe them as giants, not just in size, but in appetite. They consumed endlessly. Resources vanished, land turned barren. Their strength overwhelmed human authority. Where they walked, balance collapsed. These beings did not inherit the Watchers' restraint, nor did they inherit humanity's limits. They embodied excess. Violence escalated, corruption spread. The natural world itself began to suffer. According to ancient accounts, the earth cried out under the weight of what had been unleashed. This was no longer a local failure. It was a cosmic violation, and heaven could no longer remain silent. Before we move forward, subscribe if you want the full conclusion. What happens next is not a battle, but a judgment. Because the Watchers had not only betrayed humanity, they had defied the order of creation itself. The knowledge of the Watchers reshaped the world, but their greatest mistake was still unanswered. The chaos on Earth did not go unnoticed. According to ancient tradition, the corruption unleashed by the Watchers reached a breaking point. Violence had spread beyond conflict. Balance had collapsed. The natural order itself was unraveling. This was no longer humanity's failure alone. It was the result of a celestial rebellion. The heavens responded. Ancient texts describe a divine council being convened, a moment where the fate of Earth and the Watchers would be decided. The verdict was not delayed. Judgment was inevitable. 4 archangels were assigned the task, not to negotiate, not to warn, but to restore order. Their mission was absolute: remove the influence of the Watchers, eliminate the consequences of their rebellion, and cleanse the earth of what should never have existed. The first to face judgment was Azazel. As the Watcher most responsible for spreading destructive knowledge, his punishment was severe. He was bound, rendered powerless, and cast into a desolate abyss. Ancient descriptions speak of sharp stones, darkness, and isolation. There would be no redemption, no escape. Azazel would remain imprisoned until final judgment. Semyaza, the leader of the rebellion, was next. Though he had not shared as much knowledge as others, his crime was greater. He had organized the fall. He had convinced others to defy divine law. For this, he and the remaining Watchers were bound together and imprisoned beneath the earth, cut off from both heaven and humanity. Their fate was not death, it was awareness without power. They would exist, fully conscious, unable to influence the world they had corrupted. But the Watchers were only part of the problem. Their offspring still walked the earth. The hybrid beings, giants born from forbidden unions, had grown too powerful to be controlled. Human weapons could not stop them. Human authority meant nothing to them. The solution was not conquest, it was erasure. Ancient accounts describe a catastrophic event meant to cleanse the world entirely. A reset, a return to balance. Water became the instrument of judgment. The flood came, not as punishment for humanity alone, but as a response to a corrupted creation. Entire civilizations were wiped away, landscapes reshaped. What had been built with forbidden knowledge vanished beneath the waters. The giants disappeared. The Watchers' influence was stripped from the surface of the world. When the waters receded, a new era began. Humanity survived, but changed. The advanced knowledge once shared was fragmented. Some techniques remained, others became myths. The memory of the Watchers faded into legend, passed down through stories that would later be dismissed as metaphor. But nothing truly vanished. The scars remained. If this moment in the story feels like a turning point, subscribe now, because what survived the flood may be more unsettling than what was destroyed. According to ancient tradition, The Watchers were not destroyed. They were imprisoned, bound beneath the earth, hidden from sight, waiting. And their story does not end with their chains. The texts hint at something more, a future reckoning, a final judgment yet to come, a moment when the Watchers would be brought forth again to face ultimate accountability. Whether symbolic or literal, the implication is chilling. Their fall was not erased, it was paused. Humanity moved forward, rebuilding from fragments. Civilizations rose again. Knowledge returned, this time earned slowly, painfully through trial and error. But echoes of the Watchers remained, in myths, in legends, in unexplained leaps of knowledge. The question was no longer whether the Watchers had existed. The question became whether their influence had truly ended. The Watchers were imprisoned, their creations were destroyed, but their legacy survived.
The flood erased civilizations. The Watchers were imprisoned. Order was restored. At least, that's how the story is supposed to end. But ancient myths across the world suggest something far more unsettling. The influence of the Watchers did not vanish with the waters. It simply went underground, into memory, legend, and unanswered questions. Stories of giants appear in cultures separated by oceans and centuries. Towering beings of immense strength who shaped the land, defied the gods, and were eventually destroyed. Different names, same description. Coincidence, or fragments of the same forgotten past. Even more troubling is the knowledge that seems to reappear long after it should have been lost. Across the ancient world, structures exist that challenge conventional timelines. Massive stones, weighing dozens or even hundreds of tons, cut and placed with astonishing precision. Sites built before modern tools, before recorded engineering, before organized states. How did early civilizations accomplish feats that strain modern understanding? Mainstream explanations credit human ingenuity, and perhaps they are right. But the question remains, why does advanced knowledge seem to emerge suddenly, then vanish, only to reappear generations later? Ancient traditions offer a darker explanation. They claim the Watchers' teachings were never fully erased. Some knowledge survived, in fragments, passed quietly through lineages, symbols, and sacred traditions. Not enough to dominate the world again, but enough to leave fingerprints across history. Astronomy is one example. Civilizations across the globe aligned monuments to celestial events with incredible accuracy. Stone circles, pyramids, temples, built not randomly, but in harmony with the sky. These cultures had no contact with one another, yet shared strikingly similar astronomical precision. Were these discoveries purely observational or inherited echoes of earlier instruction? If you've stayed this far, consider subscribing. Stories like this are rarely explored beyond the surface, and the final question may be the most unsettling of all. In modern times, the Watchers have taken on new interpretations. Some view them not as angels, but as advanced beings, misunderstood by ancient humans. Others see them as symbolic representations of forbidden knowledge, warnings about progress without wisdom. And then there are theories suggesting they never truly left. Ancient texts describe the Watchers as imprisoned beneath the earth, not destroyed. Over time, this idea merged with legends of hidden realms, vast subterranean worlds said to house advanced beings, guardians, or ancient intelligences. Whether metaphorical or literal, the symbolism is consistent. What is buried is not gone. Even more provocative is the idea that the Watchers' greatest legacy wasn't architecture or astronomy, but humanity itself. Some interpretations suggest their knowledge altered human potential permanently, not through technology, but through awareness, a spark embedded into human consciousness, a drive to question, to innovate, to reach beyond limits. If true, then humanity's rapid technological rise in recent centuries isn't an anomaly, it's an echo. The story of the Watchers becomes less about angels and more about responsibility, about what happens when knowledge arrives before wisdom, when power outpaces restraint. And perhaps that is why their story was hidden, not because it was false, but because it was uncomfortable. Because it asks a dangerous question. If advanced beings once interfered with humanity, what would stop it from happening again? Or worse, what if they never stopped watching? The Watchers may be ancient myth, or they may be a warning written into humanity's memory. Either way, their story isn't about the past, it's about us. Share your thoughts below. Were the Watchers real, symbolic, or something in between? Subscribe for more deep histories and hidden truths. And remember, some knowledge changes everything.